Welcome, everybody, and good morning. And we're going to be talking about migrating anything and everything to Drupal Canvas. And here's a prettier slide. A little bit of branding credit to the Starshot brand, if you remember that back in the day, and the Drupal brand, and I pulled out some Dries notes. Hello, my name's Kristen, and I have many, many hats. I've been in the community for 21 and a half years. And I just took a peek. I have closing in on 2,000 issue credits. A good number of those are actually related to Canvas. I think over 300 are Canvas and related with the demo design system that I helped lead. I'm also a co-lead of the Drupal AI initiative. So this talk might be a little different than other Canvas talks you've talked about or you've seen because I am going to have a little bit of an AI bent to it. We're going to have an overview of Canvas, why you should want to use it if you don't know already. Migrating what? What are we talking about here? Some next steps and resources, and ask me anything, maybe. All right, some disclaimers. I did not build Canvas. An amazingly large team of people did build Canvas. I did do a lot of Q&A on Canvas, especially in early days, because I was a bleeding edge adopter by helping lead the demo design system. So found lots of bugs, reported a lot of issues. Other people fixed those issues, and I tested. So we do, if there are technical questions, we'll figure them out. Another thing is the title, Migrating Anything and Everything. That's a pretty bold claim. So this is a very high-level talk, and I pitched it, 6-8 months ago when sessions were being collected. And so just take that with a grain of salt. We are on our way to having lots of tools available for you. You can, I feel very confident that you can use Canvas when it comes out next month as stable. So I just want to, it is a little bit of a grandiose claim. So I just want to temper everybody's expectations. I don't have a magic button that you can press, and then you're magically over with Canvas with any kind of website that you have. So just that. OK, so I'm going to give you a bit of an overview and timeline of Canvas. So 2 years ago, Dries introduced this idea of a new initiative called the Next Generation Page Builder. And it was focused on improving Drupal's layout builder. And he had these really cool slides. So if you haven't watched the Dries note from Lil, really fun, fairy tale kind of vibe. And this is where he's talking about it. So then, he's a founder of Acquia, and he tapped someone on the shoulder, Lori, to be the lead of this next generation page builder project. And so Lori went out and he talked to a lot of agencies. He did a lot of market research, talked to a lot of designers, and really tried to wrap his head around this whole problem of having this amazing next-gen page builder. And at Portland, a year and a half ago, they announced the official name as Experience Builder. So the idea was it's going to be the best of layout builder, the best of paragraphs, in-browser theming, and something called single directory components. And soon after, he had a blog post out saying, I feel strongly that a unified experience builder is one of the most important initiatives we can undertake right now. So soon after Portland, there was a call out, so the thing about Experience Builder, I'm going to still call it Experience Builder, was that it needed a design system to be able to really show off its power, because it's having that design system and all these components that really makes it shine. So they put out this request to try to find someone that would build a demo design system for Experience Builder. And I was fortunate enough to lead the project to build that. And that was a really fun project with Salsa Digital, and we had support from the community, notably from QED42. Fast forward, and December of last year, they put a call out to have a design system that would be shipped with Drupal CMS. And so the Media Current team stepped up and said, yeah, we'd like to do that. And so they have been building that since January of this year. And you've seen, if you went to the Dries note or some of the other sessions, you've seen Mercury, and also they've started building some site templates off of that. And also, AI team was formed, Canvas AI team was formed middle of the year, and they started figuring out how to integrate AI into Canvas in a fun way and useful way. And a number of organizations, so that has been primarily led by Acquia, but QED42 has been very active in that space, and then supported by Freely Give, and Salsa has also played a role in that AI space. So kind of putting it all together, over the last couple years, there's been an enormous amount of research, design, and development across many, many companies, and many different facets. So when you think of Canvas, it's more than just what you're seeing in the UI. There's design systems, there's AI, there's plumbing, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And as we know, the RC was released recently. So I just want to say it takes a village. Like, this is a huge, huge undertaking. This is an enormous project. And I couldn't put all the logos of all the groups, but there's been a lot of people involved, and I just want to shout out to everyone who has helped make Canvas and the ecosystem what it is today. So hopefully you're excited about Canvas and you want to move forward with it, but I want to give you some more reasons why you should be excited. So our goal, or at least my goal, is to become the world's best AI-powered page builder. And actually, I think Lori struck out page and said site builder. But you know, that's a very grandiose claim. And notice that I didn't actually put open source in there. It is open source, but I want us to be playing against the big players too, right? Sure, we want to be better than WordPress and other open source systems, but it would be amazing if we were also, you know, better than a lot of the commercial products out there. There's a lot of popular page builders, and who here has used something that's on this slide? Show of hands. Let's see who's awake here. Okay, so fair number of people in the audience, maybe 20 or so, and I'm sure some others that didn't want to raise their hand. So there's a lot out in the space. It's a very crowded space, to be honest, right? And then within Drupal, we have our own ways of page building. And I've never used Layout Builder all that much, but I've always been a huge paragraphs fan. I've given many a talk on paragraphs. And then there's others as well. So who here has used Layout Builder or paragraphs or some sort of, pretty much all the hands are going up. I don't know, maybe there's 50-ish people. So yeah, you tend to have something that you like to use and you're comfortable with, and that's what you go with. So we don't want to necessarily take away your tools, but we want to make the Canvas experience so compelling and so easy to move to that you're going to want to move to it. And ultimately, we would like it to be the one platform we could all embrace and we can all put our effort into, because when we're more, there's going to be niche things that people want to do, but for the most part, we want to have that 80% rule, like we're covering most of people's use cases, and people really want to rally behind it, and we can come together as a community and help contribute and make it better. So I did this mental exercise while preparing for this talk, and I was like, oh, ChatGPT, as I do. I like to use it for research. Like, if you are going to build the most powerful, the best, well, I actually didn't even say AI powered. I just said the best page builder in the world, what would you do? And so it, spits out a bunch of stuff. And I looked at the list and I was like, wow, I think we're well on our way to ticking all these boxes here. So it talked about having a unified mental model. It literally said a visual editor that's actually good. That's why I laughed at that one. Deep design system integration, context-aware and AI-powered, performance and governance built in, composable, extensible, API-driven, bridges the roles between developers, designers, and editors, ready for multi-site and enterprise use cases. So for those who are familiar with Drupal and at all familiar with Canvas, I think this is sounding pretty good and pretty much in like Drupal's comfort zone. So I'll talk I'm not going to go over all of the bullets, but the idea of a unified mental model is having that single user interface, that you're not having to switch between different UIs. The thing about having some of these other page building technologies in Drupal is a lot of times you end up adding a lot of extra modules, and you're kind of cobbling together something. We want this unified experience. And then the visual editor that's actually good, which I love, is the drag and drop and previews and having all the responsive displays. One thing that we don't quite have yet is inline content editing. So I guess another thing is if there's stuff on here that we don't have yet, most likely we've already thought about it, and most likely there's already an issue in the queue, and it's on the roadmap. So that's why I'm feeling very confident that we're going in the right direction, and that hopefully people will, if you weren't already convinced that you should use Canvas, that you will be very soon. So the deep design system integration, having those component libraries, you've seen the drag and drop and pulling all that and having that unified experience. And then what was really interesting, so if you went to the Dries note, you saw this thing called a context control center, or context center, that was highlighted. It literally said in one of its bullets was context center integration and generating content from context. And we literally would, when we were prepping for the Dries note and doing all this stuff about metadata and building landing pages with AI, that's exactly what we built about a month ago. So it was basically predicting the past. So, and then all sorts of things that you would expect, like fast rendering, versioning and rollbacks, versioning rollbacks, roles-based permissions, editorial workflows. This is like the bread and butter of Drupal, right? This is the kind of stuff that we just expect. Clean APIs, pulling in, pluggable component sources. Like, this is all so just like part of who we are as a community, and that's what makes Drupal amazing, right? So I'm not going to go through all the bullets, but you get the idea. Like, it was basically telling me either stuff we've already built or stuff that's on our roadmap, and I was feeling very confident that we're going to build the world's best AI-powered page builder / site builder. So if you look at all of those different criteria that it was talking about, they kind of fall into 3 buckets. UX, so it needs to be fast, it needs to be easy to use, it needs to be able to handle different types of roles. Also DX, right? We need good APIs. It needs to be composable and extensible. And AI, like have useful AI that doesn't hallucinate and have it baked in such a way that it's just there for you when you need it. And we wouldn't be here without some very substantial amount of effort. And I do want to shout out to Acquia. Drupal is open source, but to be honest, we would not be where we were today if we didn't have a lot of cash that was injected into this project. And so I have no idea how many dollar signs that Acquia has funded, but I do know that they fund a huge team of folks, both with the Canvas core team and the Canvas AI team. And then, of course, there's many in the community that are also contributing. But I would hazard to guess it's many, many millions of dollars that have already been put into this project, which is a very unusual thing for open source. And also, just the number of people. So I know Lori, so for the Dries note, there was like the sea of faces, and I know Lori put together a list, and I was curious, so I started looking through the list, and I think he had like 56 names, and that wasn't even everyone that had helped Canvas. But I think 45 of them worked at Acquia or had, were contracting with Acquia. So we're talking about serious numbers of people that have been focused on this, and then the wider community as well. And then just having that North Star, right? Like us all being on the same page of what's this going to be, understanding the roadmap, buying in, and trying not to bike shed too much and get too caught up in the details, and just really trying to build something amazing together. All right, so like I said, migrating anything and everything. It's a very lofty title for a session, and I think, like I said before, the main thing is I'm very confident that next month when we get Canvas ready, you should just start going for it, right? So even though we don't necessarily have the one-click button to, magically move everything that you're using over to Canvas today, we are building a lot of these things, and there's a lot of good proof of concepts. Some things are further along than others. So I am definitely pro Canvas, and I really welcome people to use it and start testing out the waters, and also participating in making it better. So there's a Drupal Canvas Slack if you have problems or questions. It's very active. People are super good about getting back to you. So with that, let's see what we're talking about. Okay, so migration is a process. So who here has done like a full-on migration with like migrate scripts and all that fun stuff, incremental migrations? Okay, a good number of folks, yeah. So we're not going to be going into that kind of stuff, okay? At some point in the future, yeah, we're going to have big sites and we're going to need to migrate them over there. Not quite there yet. That's okay, because Stable's not out yet. So we got Stable, that's going to be coming out soon, and then Drupal CMS is going to come along, and there's a process. But whenever you're adopting a new technology, there is just a process, right? So first off is assessing the new technology, what you're doing here, right? You're trying to figure out what is this thing that I may or may not want to migrate to. Then you start adopting it, and you can adopt it slowly. You don't have to go wholesale and just cut over to it. You can start using it in parallel to your other technologies, and that's fine. But once you've realized, like, this is an amazing tool, then you're like, yeah, let's go for it. And you want to start just cutting over all of your technologies and going away from the old paradigm to the new paradigm, and just sort of assimilating it into your whole tech stack. And that's when you start seeing that kind of huge benefit, because you don't have disparate technologies that you're working with, and you can really kind of take off and accelerate your productivity. But migration also has a lot of considerations. The skills of your team, the roles of your team, how much time they have, the goals of your website, your budget, your deadlines, and your tech stack, right? So there's many, many parts. So migrations are hard, right, traditionally. And what I want to say is you can still move towards that, and it doesn't have to be hard. So I wouldn't encourage you to do a full-on migration, in December. That's probably not wise. But you can get pieces in place and prep yourself so that, in mid-next year, maybe, you start doing more of a wholesale migration. So on the tech side, there's so many things involved, right? You've got your page building technologies you're already using, right? Layout builder, paragraphs, or whatever you're using. You got different information sources, whether it's content or media or blocks or, just information that you're pulling in from within Drupal. Then there's all these integrations with modules that you might want to use as a content editor. Popular ones would be, I want to be able to put a form on my page. I want to be able to configure my meta tags, but it might be something like Scheduler or whatever. So, I think evaluating the modules that are like must-haves for you is super important. And then there's this whole design system aspect, that design systems are baked into the DNA of using Canvas. There's really like a superpower of it. And then in a more traditional sense of migration, you might start be thinking about, oh, I love this so much. What if I pull in stuff from WordPress? What if I pull in stuff from other systems? And that's where I think the power of AI can come in. And then of course, it's Drupal. We like to integrate with things. So maybe in the editor, you want to be able to have ways of checking your page for Lighthouse scores or integrating with Storybook. So the thing is, maybe each one of these things isn't like a traditional migration, but these are the things that you need to keep in mind when you're migrating your mindset and your team over to this new technology. So, like we said, we have all the, certain page builders right here. I don't use Layout Builder that much myself. Big fan of paragraphs. Who here has used panels? Okay. Oh, wow. All right. So I don't know, maybe 20, 30 folks. So yeah, you're showing your age, just saying. Panels everywhere. Yes, I've used it. So yeah, I was actually, I did use panels quite a bit back in the day, and then I switched over to paragraphs. And yeah, we all kind of have our favorite tools, as we do. So there has been a lot of work in order to figure out how, if you're on Layout Builder and you're on paragraphs, how does that work in this new model of Canvas? So Canvas has component sources in order to pull in components into the UI. So a good example is that you can pull in blocks, so Drupal blocks, and you can pull in SCCs, and we'll see a little bit more of that later. So how does that map to this sort of, okay, I've got Layout Builder stuff, or I've got paragraph stuff, and there's been a lot of work already, and it's not quite finished yet, but Lee Rollins has a plan, so that's very important. If you don't know who that is, he's a very smart guy. He's working with the Canvas team. He's part of the core team. And the challenge has been that there had to be some core issues fixed in order to be able to unblock the work that's done for Layout Builder. So the first issue, once those core issues are all sorted, is getting the layouts themselves into to be able to use those within Canvas. And there is an issue, and it needs review. So if you're a developer and you want to test stuff out, come jump in the queue. And then we're a little less far along with paragraphs. So Sasha, one of the people that started paragraphs, he did do some prototyping. We are looking for, if you're into paragraphs and you're a developer, we are looking for more people to help out with that particular thing. But the idea would be that it would be another component source that you could pull in just like you would with a block or a Layout Builder block, that kind of thing. So, and then you might have your own use cases, right? So we're coming along. I would guess after stable, I would hope by the end of the year that we have certainly the Layout Builder stuff sorted, and hopefully well on our way with paragraphs as well. Okay, so I talked about those component sources and having different ways of being able to pull Drupal content into Canvas. And so, you have a views block or any block that you want. So we already have some interesting ways of pulling content in. Probably, if anyone's gone to Canvas Talks, you'll see that there's code components, which are JavaScript components, which you can build in the UI. You can also pull them in. So Ballant and others have started this Canvas CC starter, which is CC for code components. And that actually has a library of a bunch of starter components that you can work with if you want to do JavaScript components. You can pull those in and then play with those. And then there's a mechanism to be able to sync between the code and the UI. So that's kind of fun if you're more into that side of the world. On the in-progress side, which I know that they did a demo yesterday, Fago, this Canvas, so in progress, Canvas external JavaScript components. If you already build components in other JavaScript frameworks, Vue, React, Next, therefore, you can actually start pulling those into Canvas using this module. So that's also super exciting. It's alpha, so go test it and try it out. And if you have your own block plugins in your system, it's very easy to get those to show up within Canvas with just a little bit of extra code in your YAML file. So that's that constraints fully validatable little blurb there. So if you're a developer, so I guess a question, who here considers themselves a developer, either back end, front end, whatever? Okay, good number. I bet you there's some people that didn't raise their hand that are as well. So I'm going to say, let's say 50 people raise their hand. So yeah, so a lot of this stuff I think would speak to you. Like there's issues you can help with, and there's things that you can try out, and you can get going now. So if you want to start looking at modules that your content editors use within the interface, and you want them to start to be compatible with Canvas, we have already moved some over so that they are compatible, and there are more that will be worked on in the coming months. So it's a little bit almost like, who here is familiar with like the Drupal 10 Readiness Initiative, Drupal 11 Readiness Initiative? So like each version, like we start porting modules. It's a little bit like that. It's a little different in that you really need to look at Canvas and go, okay, this is my module, this is Canvas. Do I want to just kind of slot it in like as is, or do I want to think through like the UX a little bit better and maybe just improve upon it at the same time, which would be recommended. So, so that it's slightly different mental model. And so, yeah, web form is working, meta tag is working, CK editor is working. With CK editor, we have a Lincoln plugin as well. And so, yeah, if you are a module maintainer and you want to be able to integrate with Canvas, I suggest you jump in the Drupal Canvas Slack and say, hey, I want to get started. What do I do? What do I need to look at? We've already had success integrating some of the very popular modules into Canvas. So we've got some of the brightest minds in Drupal, and we've got one sitting here who's my tech support for questions at the end. So yeah. And so design systems are baked into the DNA of Canvas. Like if you were just to open Canvas and not have any components, you'd be like, yeah, all right, now what? I mean, you could use the code components interface, but like you would have to know like, oh, I need to do that or whatever. So you can do that. You can do it. Start with a blank canvas, haha. But the power really is to have this really rich design system that you're leveraging, and have something that's beautiful and usable and matches your brand. So if you've seen the Dries node and maybe seen some talks about Mercury, that's a way that you can start if you don't have your own design system. Also, what was announced in the Dries node is that there's a number of companies, Salsa Digital is one, that they're going to make some site templates, and those need to have a design system that works with Canvas as part of the site template. So Mercury is one way of doing it, and if you want to just play around, the demo design system still works. And then you can start figuring out, like, am I going to adopt one of these existing design systems and leverage it, maybe make a sub-theme or use it as a starter, or am I going to, just like take my existing design system and pull it over? So yeah, so SDCs, single directory components, work great in Canvas, and Mercury is available. And then we saw the demo about Figma to Canvas. So if you're a designer and you're interested in Figma and getting stuff over, that was a really cool proof of concept. There's also Freely Give. I think I'm not sure if Jamie's here, but yeah. So there's a lot of proof of concepts that have happened with AI in order to get stuff from Canvas over to from Figma to Canvas. And also the SDCs, there's more and more support being added regularly. One that I'm particularly fond of is slot restrictions. So the thing about SDCs is if you make an SDC, a single directory component, you define props, which is, just think of them as settings. So it's like I've got a title and a description and an image, and then you've got slots, which is just this space that you can put in other components into the slot. So one of the things that I've been waiting for is to be able to tell Canvas, I only want these certain components to go into this slot. I don't want just anything to go into this slot, because that would be kind of annoying if someone's taking a hero and shoving it into my little card. You know, it's not going to look super great. So we're always making improvements, and definitely, you know, check out the roadmap, and if you're into making design systems and single directory components, there's a lot of work going on in that space. Now, this is, you know, a high-level talk, so I want to let you know, I did actually give a talk at DrupalCon Atlanta that was recorded called Launch Your Design System into Hyperdrive with Starshot's Experience Builder. And that actually takes you through the idea of, like, I have a design system, how do I get it into Canvas? So I'd recommend you watch that if you're interested in learning more. All right, maybe I have stuff coming from external systems that I want to migrate in at some point, coming from, you know, Drupal 7, which, you know, external, or, you know, WordPress or other things. So I think with this one, this is certainly the Wild West at the moment, and that's okay. So there's a lot of prototypes, so many prototypes. I only linked to a couple. So Freely Give is always making all sorts of cool stuff. So they have a couple which was designed to Drupal and Doodle to component, where you just like draw something and it sucks it in and makes a component for you. So there's a lot of exciting stuff happening in this space, specifically in the AI, with the AI lens. And we're starting an official AI migration track, and Canvas will be one of the big parts of that track. And we're gathering ideas on how, where do you want to migrate stuff from Canvas, to get into Canvas. So welcome you to go and add your ideas and start contributing to that. And lastly, integrations. So Storybook, so if you're into design systems, Storybook is actually a very useful tool that many people will use in tandem with Figma. And so having that kind of integration where you can sync between Storybook and Canvas components is super cool. Also, JavaScript apps, so you might have a web app that you want to be able to run with Canvas, and having that sort of support is super useful. And then there's a lot of other tools that you might really want in that Canvas experience and have it to work more seamlessly. So yeah, there's interesting things happening. Again, the Pexels one that's an AI thing that Marcus did from Freely Give, where if you wanted to get images into Canvas, you could use this thing called Pexels for some free AI generated art. And there's a Storybook integration with Mercury, and the Canvas Code Component Starter Kit also has a Storybook integration. Lots of AI proof of concepts that you could explore, too many to mention. And then on the in-progress side, so from the web app, the JavaScript web app side, there's this extensions API that is coming along. The idea there is that you would have your JavaScript web app that can run in an iframe, going old school there, iframe in the browser, and can be able to talk to Canvas and use the APIs and communicate. So if you wanted to do something interesting that you didn't want to just use traditional components and all that, but you wanted to run some sort of application on top of Canvas and interact with the APIs, this is coming soon. And then on the AI side, we've been, in prep for the Dries note, and independently, we've been working on a lot of different ways to be able to integrate into that Canvas experience from a marketer point of view. So how do we integrate analytics into generating landing pages and trying to give it to make suggestions and integrate with maybe your A/B testing infrastructure. So there's a lot of exploratory work that's been happening there over the last month or two. So watch this space because it's pretty exciting. All right, so rather than wholesale migrating to Canvas in December, don't quite recommend that just yet. But what I'd like you to do is think about migrating first your mindset, right? So you have to convince yourself this is a tool that you want to use. Hopefully, I've helped you on that path that you're thinking, yeah, this is something that I really want to explore and to adopt. Then you need to get your team on board. So, look like a lot of developers in the room, right? So just because you like it and you think it's cool, make sure that the folks that are using the tools, the content editors, the marketing folks, the people that need to be able to use it day in and day out, have them try it out. Set up a pilot environment, get them hands-on, let them have some training, and see if they're also having success with this. I think it's, in my opinion, way friendlier than some of the other Drupal technologies we've been using. And then you can use it in parallel. So I think this is super important. You don't have to just, if you're on a new site, great, go ahead, start using Canvas, that's awesome. But if you have an existing site and you're already using Layout Builder, you're already using paragraphs or whatever, you don't have to just stop using that. Just start using Canvas in parallel, and you'll have these two ways of working, and you can start building your competency, your confidence, using those tools and deciding, maybe there needs to be some enhancements, and you're, getting comfortable, and then slowly you can manually cut it. If you have a smaller site, this is easier, obviously. You can start manually cutting over some of the pages yourself. The advantage, so, sometimes, it does take longer to do manual, but the advantage of that is you're going to leverage all these new components that you have available that you might not have had available before, and a more unified design. So ideally, actually, especially for like landing pages, where usually you don't have like hundreds and hundreds unless you're a huge company, then you could be really thoughtful about how you're migrating over the old content to the new content, because you could say, oh, well, actually, I don't really love the look of my old landing page, and I can now use all these really cool, branded components now, and I can make it look so much better, and it doesn't take very long, right? So we're talking about migration, but I think the power of the human is really great. So I think having the tools is awesome, and having more automation, but also sometimes it makes more sense to do this manual process. I also call this the pizza party migration, where you sit together with your team and some pizzas, and you just start moving stuff over, and maybe some beers as well. Then you want to leverage AI as you get more advanced and want to move more things over and automate things more, so you can do those AI-assisted migrations. And then we start talking about if you have lots of content that you need to move over, that's when you're doing the migrate scripts and doing lots of the heavy-duty automated stuff, and that's a talk for another time. All right, so next steps and resources. So there's been a lot of Canvas talks. There were too many to show all the cards. You're in one of them right now, but there's actually 3 more today, and also 2 BOFs. So Mike Herschel's doing a talk later today, and Renee was actually the designer for much of Canvas. So if you're into design or just curious, that's super fun to check out. There's also a Drupal CMS Spotlights, where I'm going to do a 6-minute version of this talk in 20 slides and 20 seconds a slide, so wish me luck. And there are a couple BOFs today, accessibility BOF, I think right after this, and then a multilingual BOF. So there's still a lot of Canvas stuff that you can see today. And and if you missed any of the sessions, of course, they're recorded, so take a look, and there's a lot of fun stuff happening. If you want to try Canvas, lots of developers in the room, so you can try Canvas on your local using Adam's Canvas demo. It's a DDev approach of trying out Canvas, and that, last time I looked, was still using the demo design system. Then on Drupal Forge, there's also a one-click way of going in and using Canvas in the cloud. And QED42 has put out a lot of videos and tutorials and things on how to use Canvas, so check out those as well. Training. So when I looked, there were no specific Canvas trainings yet, but I did talk to Mike at Drupal Easy, and he has a single directory components talk, which he does cover Canvas in that. Training, which he does cover Canvas in that. And I did not reach out to Drupalize Me, but they do also have a single directories components training as well. I have a feeling in a few months there's going to be some very dedicated Canvas trainings, so watch this space. Getting involved. It is a community effort, so Acquia has done a huge amount, but there are a lot of other people helping as well. If you're coding, I did a ton of testing. If you're a designer, marketing, just come and join us. It's a lot of fun. The team's been amazing. There's the Drupal Canvas Slack channel. If you're more on the design system side or the single directory component side, there's a components channel in Drupal Slack where we talk about that stuff. If you're curious more about like Mercury design system, there's a Drupal CMS development and Drupal CMS templates track. And if you've drunk the Kool-Aid and you want to come over to the dark side and play around with AI stuff, come and join us. I will welcome you. So learning more, there's a Canvas project, there's docs, there's demos, there's Slack. And yeah, you saw that there's an AI initiative. I'm a co-lead, so disclaimer there, come and join us, and we're doing a lot of fun stuff with Canvas and beyond. Join us tomorrow, hopefully a bunch of you are going to come to Contribution Day. There'll be tables on Canvas, tables on AI, and we're going to make it all better. And keep calm and Canvas on. All right, well, with that, we have like 1 or 2 minutes left. I do have technical support, so we could probably take a question or two from the audience with that fire hose of information. All right, anyone awake enough? Oh, we got one in the back. I can repeat the question if you yell it at me. Yes, I was expecting that question, and actually, I think I might be able to handle that question a little bit. Let me start. So, yes, perhaps. Hand wavy. Yeah, so Layout Builder, of course, is in core, and there is actually an issue about maybe it not being in core. And when I'm going to use Experience Builder. So when Experience Builder started, there was the long-term vision of it being a replacement to Layout Builder and replacing it. Now, whether it technically gets into the core, I don't know. That one I might defer. Yeah, Wim's sort of shrugging his shoulders as well. So I would say that's a little bit up to the core gods, as you will, and goddesses. So yeah, so yes, the intention is that you would use this instead of Layout Builder in the coming, year, let's say. But we're not going to make you switch over anytime, like you don't have to switch over in December. And then we're going to provide these mechanisms so that you can move over slowly. Any other questions? Another one here. Yeah, okay, so excellent question. So the question was, Layout Builder had some challenges with multilingual sites and translations, and what about Canvas? That's a very good question, and I also recommend you come to the Drupal CMS highlights, because we are going to be talking about multilingual for that. But yeah, so in all honesty, we're not quite there yet with multilingual, but we are working on it, and there is a big push to make that happen. There actually is a BOF that happens in like an hour or two that you can join that and learn more. But so there's a plan in place. We're going to make it happen. We're committed. When it lands, I'm guessing early next year sounds about right. But yeah, we hear you. Yeah, we definitely want to support multilingual. It's very important. We're in Europe. So yeah, a little bit from Wim maybe. Okay. Okay. All right. Awesome. So I'll put that into the mic because not everybody heard that. But the idea is, so actually, fun fact, I wrote a book on multilingual Drupal way back in the day. So I know what you're talking about. So basically, with multilingual, you can have symmetric and asymmetric translations. And that can be a challenge, especially for UIs. We're not there yet in the UI, but the plumbing, the basis, the code under the hood for Canvas is ready for it. So it's just, at this point, more of a UI, UX exercise, and then bringing that in, to, testing and making it usable. So, so we're well on our way. We have the plumbing in place, so that's awesome. I think we're technically over. If you have any more questions, hallway track, and we'll let the next speaker come up. But thank you very much.